Series of our RJRGleaner group virtual town hall meetings. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and a very special welcome to our viewers and our listeners across our platforms on TVJ, JNN, Radio Jamaica, Power 106, OneSpotMedia.com, and TVJ's YouTube channel, as well as the Gleaner online. Now, this evening, we're looking at COVID-19 and parenting. We've been getting so many calls, so many complaints, so many questions from parents saying, how do I navigate my way through this? How do I help my child? And how do I help myself to be a better parent throughout all of this? Now, in studio, we have Casey Carr. She is the CEO of the National Parenting Support Commission. And our other guests are going to be joining us online. So stay with us a little bit if there are any connectivity issues. We know how it goes nowadays, right? We have online with us CEO and counseling psychologist at Phoenix Counseling Center, Dr. Patrice Charles. We also have with us O'Neill Grant. He's president of the Jamaica Civil Service Association. And as well, we'll have a little later on in the discussion, Rochelle Cameron. She's consultant and chief project officer at the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, as well as director of legal services in the Ministry of Labor, Camille Bennett Campbell. And want to remind you that you can participate, want you to send in your questions. We've been getting a lot of them. We can still take some more, so send in your questions via WhatsApp, 3810072. That's 3810072. And you can call us. We're taking calls during the program, 876-733-2461, and that goes all the way up to 6, and those numbers will be on screen as well, so we look forward to your calls. Now, let's just jump right in with this video question.
I have my daughter. She is not working at the moment. She used to do a little thing on this side, not really working with a company, still a little thing for herself now. But she is mostly at home, so sometimes the grandchildren are there. You know, I don't really have internet and those good things where I'm living at. So we have to use the data, which it not pick up much either. And well, for most of the schoolwork, myself, I don't really understand much because I was from back way then. So I'm limited that way. So.
Okay, so I'm actually going to put with that question a similar question we got from Glenford, because Glenford says, look, honestly, I don't understand half of the things the teacher send me. How must I help my child if I don't understand? And look, let's get real. A lot of us are in that position. When my kids reach grade 4, I used to tell them, stop coming to me with maths. Can't help now after that. So, but what do? You're in this position now. All of a sudden, you are one of your children's primary teachers. You're supposed to be guiding them through. And as both Glenford and that lady on cam said, we don't understand what I'm doing. How can we help? What do they do?
That's really a good question, and it's a reality that many parents just don't understand the content. They are still not familiar with the National Standards Curriculum, which is something the Commission is working on to ensure parents understand what the curriculum aims to achieve. And there are some parents who have their own deficits, so some have literacy issues. Some parents have children with special needs, and it takes special skill sets to deal with those issues. So I think one of the miscommunication, maybe or misunderstanding, preferably, was that we were asking parents to become teachers, and that's really not what was supposed to happen and not what we intended. We intended for parents to create an atmosphere at home for some amount of schoolwork to take place. And the reason I say it that way, some amount,
yes,
is because I do understand that when you're teaching, your own emotions are high. You really are expecting your child to know So when you become frustrated, we're asking you to pull away. And then there are other parts of the curriculum that we sometimes don't talk about. How about values and attitudes? Talk about what it is that COVID is about, for example. Talk about, how to be kind, how to show empathy. Look at what's happening in some areas where we're treating persons with the virus as less than. Some persons are feeling that they shouldn't be in the community, that kind of a thing. How about using those for teachable moments? But let's get back to the heart of it. We were expecting that teachers and those of us who are a part of the education system would use whatever platforms that have now been created, different modalities, to actually do the teaching, and that children would access the lessons, and then parents would facilitate that by creating structure, so ensure that there's time set aside to access the lessons. Whatever the children didn't understand, that's one of the reasons we established the helplines. They could either call the school, get in touch with the teacher, the principal, or call the helplines, or call the ministry directly, or the local regional offices, where everybody was available to help you and to help your child.
But those structures clearly haven't been working. But you made some important points. I want to highlight them. You said when emotions are high,
Yes.
pull away. So if you start get vexed and you want to lick them down,
You
stop.
You take the time out, parent.
cry, cree.
Yeah, cry, cree.
Say it's break time. You go watch your TV or
Yes.
something, and let me go outside and take some deep breaths.
Absolutely. And Dion, I want to just reiterate that, because I don't think we give enough value to that. Take breaths. It actually works. It's a way to regulate yourself. So really go and take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
And do that until you feel yourself being restored to a sense of calm.
All right. And perhaps temper expectations. Dr. Patricia Charles, let me
Yes.
bring you in on this. Parents who are saying they can't help, what do I do? What else? What else perhaps should they be looking at doing or not doing?
Separate and apart from Google will become their best friends. But one of the things that Casey said that is true is the support system that's there for parents. A lot of the schools have WhatsApp groups for the parents so that they can contact them through the WhatsApp group. So reach out into to the other parents that are there and see if they're having the same difficulty, or if there's one person that is able to assist you. When you're in a confined space, when you're in quarantine, and when there are other restrictions that keeps everyone within the same space, the coping mechanisms that used to exist, which is someone can leave the home or reach out in a different way, go to school, go to the library, it doesn't exist. And what happens is that you have exaggerated emotions. And so parents need to be aware that with all of the stress that's caused from COVID-19 and the family responsibilities with homeschool, there will be exaggerated emotions. And so they have to model less of that anxiety to their children. If they're frustrated, their children are going to be frustrated. I suggest that, and a lot of families that I have been working with, is creating a new parent plan. A new parent plan that takes into consideration the fact that you have to do work that you're not familiar with, and how and who that go-to person is going to be when you get into a difficult spot.
Except though, it sounds as if y'all expect parents to go through school all over again. People don't have time for that. I'm not going to learn the entire grade 5 curriculum. I'm not going to learn the grade 6 or the first form or the second form curriculum. I don't want to get on a WhatsApp group and try figure out how to do this particular maths lesson. A lot of it doesn't sound reasonable in terms of the stresses that are on parents and the time they have. And I'm listening to, I can hear some of my viewers saying, I want to them people there.
COVID-19, Dion, is not reasonable. So the situations that have come about because of COVID-19 cannot be reasonable and new and as business as usual. So again, parents can't stick to their old structure to survive this new thing that's taking place. So yes, it is unreasonable. telling you, I have a PhD.
All right,
There are a lot of
hold on one moment, Dr. Charles. We have a little technical issue we're going to be trying to sort out. So let me ask you to hold for 1 second so we sort that out. Let me just move on to another question in the meantime from Des Marie. Des Marie says, my husband and I both work in what's regarded as essential services. So we've been at work every day since COVID arrived in Jamaica. Schools are closed, or schools closed on the 12th of March. The kids have been home. We have not been able to really help or check the work they do as we would want to. Let me bring in O'Neill Grant on this, because I suspect a lot of your members in the Civil Service Association fall into this category. What do you hear from them, and what do you say to them?
Well, you have expressed it, Dion, as they have expressed it to the union. They are having significant challenges maintaining the schedules that they have for work, whilst looking after the children at home whilst they are working from home, or when they return to from work in evenings. And the supervisors are also having a challenge as well, because they're saying that, my workers who are parents are totally distracted because they have to be so immersed in getting the child and keeping the child up to speed with the work that they're doing at school, that they oftentimes are having challenges focusing on the work that they have to do, either at work or at school. Because even though they're at work, they still have to be on their phones, on their laptops, talking to the child at home, fielding questions and responding to questions from the child to assist them while they're working. And even in a two-parent situation, they still are finding it very challenging if both of them are out of the workplace, out of the home at the same time, in the workplace at the same time, to deal with the questions and to deal with the homework and to deal with the schoolwork that the child has. It's really a challenge, and they have expressed it as you have, Dion.
Yeah. Casey, any advice in that situation?
That to say to parents, first of all, give yourselves a break. We're not expecting. We're not expecting. Yeah, we're not expecting you to be perfect at it. It's okay to get a failing grade in terms of what we're expecting for school, because we understand the challenges. What you just said, that there are parents who are first responders, that's a reality. But the education system has been so designed that we expect gaps. We expect that children are going to come back whenever school reopens fully in September. But children are going to come back, and we may very well have to go right back, maybe even prior to March, to ensure that those gaps are filled. We expect that because the system has been designed to be that responsive. What we intended was that's why I keep saying to some amount of schoolwork. We don't expect it to be perfect. I think initially what was happening, people just wanted to ensure that the children were getting work. And so everybody was sending work. And it became overwhelming for many, many students and the parents alike. But I want to reiterate what I said before, that we're expecting that many children, even those who would have been doing the work, that we're still going to have to go back to reteach and to explain, and also to understand that the children have been going through COVID as well. So
you're saying relax.
Right. Don't put so much, do the best you can. Don't put that much pressure on yourself to the point where you're going to take it out on children. I heard a voice message for myself where a mother was saying, somebody needs to come and take him. He's lazy. He's not doing. Well, how about ask that child, are you okay? Are you coping? It could be what you're interpreting as lazy could very well be that your child is shutting down because of all the uncertainties of the time. So let us calm down a bit and understand that we're human and we're inherently flawed and we're not going to be perfect. Nobody's infallible. We're doing the best we can. And our children are as well. Yeah. We're doing the best we can under the circumstances. And the education system is designed to be that responsive.
All right, hold that thought for me. Let me go to break. We'll be back with our virtual town hall. We're talking parenting. So make sure you stay tuned and keep your questions coming in. We'll soon come.
Hello, I am Monique Brown. I am a parent and I'm also a teacher. How have I been coping with the COVID-19? It has been challenging as I am now working on the double. I am now a full-time mom and still a full-time teacher. I thought working from home and my child studying from home that it would allow us more time to bond, but that's not the case. I have to be spending way more time delivering lessons online and having way less time assisting my child with her online lessons. The spare time that I get in the days, I have to be preparing meals and doing stuff around the house. As it relates to parents going back to work on the 1st of June, I know I'll be reaching way less students on the virtual platform as most of my students use their parents' gadgets.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
With the stay-at-home orders set to expire in the coming days, what's next for parents?
We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances.
Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28th at 8:30 p.m. as we discuss COVID-19 and parenting. Send your questions to 876-381-0072. We also want to know how you have been coping as a parent during the pandemic. That's a virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28th at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, onespotmedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. That's COVID-19 and parenting.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing when caring.
And we thank you so much for staying with us as we continue with our series of virtual town halls, and we're talking about parenting in tonight's program. Now, let me just finish a point we're talking about before we went to break and bring up another question from a parent, Sabrina, because Sabrina was also asking, she said, look, come June 1, school from home is supposed to be occurring, and with parents going back to work on June 1, who is going to monitor that now when nannies or helpers, where they do exist, perhaps can't help with the work either? So let me just go back to Casey Akar on that first before I go back to the others. Does this fall into the same kind of category? You're saying, is it that essentially you're saying, look, if they're not doing CAPE this year, if they're not doing CSEC, just relax. Give yourself a break and give them a break and do what you can do.
Yes. Allow them to still maintain academic activity. So they must still be accessing work, still be doing. But it's not an indictment on anyone if whoever is supervising at home is not able to help, not at this point. They also can access tutorials online for those persons who are doing CXC and CAPE. They're zero-rated sites that they can access those tutorials. And if there are questions, they can reach out to the school and get the information. But I wouldn't put pressure on my child who is not understanding at this point, because that's what teachers are trained to do. And that's the other thing. These are specialist areas, you know. Teachers are persons who have gone to school for years and studied, and then it takes even years after that to develop expertise. So the idea that all of a sudden you're going to ask a parent to become a teacher is absolute nonsense, and we need to stop it.
I love that.
We're not asking parents. No, we're not.
I love that.
And
I love
as an
that.
educator, we also have to respect the sector. I'm not going down to Cornell Regional or KPH to say, get out, sir, I'm coming to do brain surgery. I'm not. Am I? I'm respecting the discipline.
Okay.
Teacher, it's an art, it's a skill that you have to develop over years.
All right, now going to the break, we had carried a video comment from a parent who said, look, I'm a full-time parent now, plus I'm a teacher, and doing all this online isn't giving me enough time to bond with my child. So I'm going to put that as well with a question from Howard, who says it's very challenging to keep a close eye on online school while working a full-time job from home at the same time. Can you share any tips on how to plan your day around this? Dr. Charles?
Yes. I had mentioned before that a new parenting plan that takes into consideration a new structure is what's going to be important. I think it's also important to try and keep your children as close as possible to the school structure. So if you can find a designated place at home for to do their work whilst you are able to work, then that would be good. That would be the best case scenario. Keep the youngest kids closest to you, and hopefully the older kids would be better able to be independent online homeschoolers. Again, that new structure should include at the end of the day some time for yourself. And if you have more than one child, if you can, don't stress yourself to try and get it all in one day. But if you can take some time to bond independently or separately with each one of the children that you have, that would be great. That's also the best case scenario. If not, just do what you can to the best of your ability. Take a moment when the kids are going to sleep, which is why it's important to have a new structure so that the kids go to have bedtime at a reasonable time so that you are able to do and to wind down and to take care of yourself in the evening. That's going to be very important. And when we do get back into school, physically getting back into school, it won't be so difficult for the children to readjust to going to school and getting into that routine all over again, because their wake-up time and their bedtime will still be the same.
Okay. We also have a question from Italino, I think this is, Italino, who is asking, should online classes continue since we aren't having any exams? And I notice you've been saying, both of you have been saying, it's necessary to have a structure. So I guess she and other parents want to know, to what extent do you continue this though? Is there any point if they're not sitting an exam?
Yes, I do believe that engagement is important. For one, it just keeps you familiar with the content so that you don't forget things that you have learned. It also helps you to maintain that structure that we've been talking about, because we don't want that to break, so that when the routine changes and we return to some amount of normalcy, then we won't be jolting our system because they'll be used to attending to schoolwork during the day. So I believe it's still important.
A question for O'Neill Grant from a public sector worker on Twitter.
Yes.
Saying, ask O'Neill Grant what representation will be made for public sector workers, public sector workers, to get a reprieve for the rest of June.
I'm not clear what the person is asking in terms of a reprieve.
Let me put it this way then, because we're talking about that whole issue of balancing.
Right.
What happens for public sector workers?
Well, like any other worker that is now living and working and existing during this period, the challenges that we are facing are not unique. And we have an employer that has employed us to carry out a particular service. And yes, whilst we are parents, we do need to balance, and that balance means that we have to ensure that whilst we are carrying out our regular functions at work, we have enough provisions at home for our children. Now, in terms of our reprieve, the normal reprieve that parents would get during the summer would center around summer school, children going to the country, children being sent overseas, parents taking vacation leave to be at home at least for 1 or 2 months out of the summer holidays to be with their children. That for us now is not the current reality. People can still apply for their leave as they normally would if they have leave available. But in terms of special leave that has been created because of children being at home, that is going to be a difficult conversation to have with our employer because there is really no provision for it in terms of childcare. What we would have loved is if we could have created facilities at the places where we work to allow for those parents who can't take leave or can't be home with their children for whatever reason, to have a safe space within the workplace where they can keep their child with some amount of attention being given to that child in the place of work. I think that is as much as we could reasonably ask of our employer. And I'm trying to be very open-minded in my response, not to seem and put any undue pressure on the employer to ask for things that we really don't know. That they can't provide. But there are spaces within the places where we work that we can set aside for a little corner where our children can maintain some social distancing or physical distance, as some people want to call it now, that they can be safe, that they can be supervised while the parents are at work if they don't have the leave at their disposal to stay home with the children, or there is no place for them to keep them while they're at work.
All right, I like this question now from Gary. What kind of support is available for parents who have to work and whose children are not diligent or disciplined enough to do the work on their own? We all know, many of us are those children. A teacher not standing up over you and your parent not standing over you. What happens if you're the parent now? You're torn. Mm-hmm. What do? I have to work, but my child needs this kind of constant supervision standing over them. What do you do?
So there are 2 categories of children. There are some children, for example, those who have ADD, attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, who literally can't attend very long. They have to take breaks, they flit, they're distracted easily, and so on. So that's a special category. And then you do have children who are not independent learners, meaning they don't know how to sit down and do anything on their own, like you rightly said, without somebody over them. And a part of that too could be that because structure has never been created in the home. And a part of what structure allows is for the development of a disciplined child to understand when to do a particular task and when to move on and so on. In some households, it's actually very fluid. It's almost robotic, you know.
Right, so tell me, what should we do?
Okay, so in that situation, it's going to take a whole lot now to try and rearrange the mindset of a child who has a propensity to just do as he pleases because he's not used to a structured day. So in that case, I guess you have to leave information around the house, prompters, if you will, around the house to say, remember to do this. Remember it's time to do your math now. Stay half an hour. Put some incentive in place to say, if you do your math assignment or your social studies assignment, this is what will happen. Maybe we'll have an extra bowl of ice cream, I don't know. When you get home, put some kind of incentive, or you get to play with your gadget for a longer hour on a Saturday or something like that. Put some incentives in place. For those children who have the disorders, then you have to get the support now from the different groups of persons in the disability field to tell you exactly what needs to be done in those situations, because for the disability, it's a whole different ballgame.
Okay. Let me go to this question from Delia. Delia says, I have some concerns that this pandemic period will make this generation of children even more addicted to electronic devices and less social. Is there a risk of that happening? Dr. Charles, let me put that to you.
That's a really good question, and I'm really glad that someone asked that question. She's absolutely right. Before COVID-19, I've been seeing a lot of children come with their parents into the counseling center with an addiction to the device. And now that they are forced to be on the device, it can happen. And this is why it's very important that structure where they're on their devices at school, during school time, homeschooling time, and that parents set up now a face-to-face period where they're free of devices. Go in the yard and play, or do board games, exercise, bake a cake, but do something. You must have a set time where you are device-free. And that's something else that parents need to understand is because your child is online a lot more now, and they're online unsupervised because you assume that they're doing schoolwork, they are so much more at risk for those predators that are not going away because of COVID-19. So you have to ensure that the protective mechanisms and measures that you would put in place to ensure that they're protected from certain sites and that they're not as vulnerable to those individuals that will basically stalk them online because of what they're doing, that you're aware of that and you put those measurements in place. Don't take it for granted that they're always on doing their schoolwork. You have to make sure that there are mechanisms in place that protects them from certain porn sites and even based on their age, social media. So it's don't take it for granted that you should not put in those measures that can protect your children online. And also make sure that you have a sufficient amount of face-to-face. So in other words, you set up, say, listen, you're going to be on school, you're going to do homeschooling for 3 hours in the morning, and then I want you to do some kind of hobby or activity for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and then you eat dinner and then you do this, and then you probably take another break. You probably get a half an hour to go online and say hi to your friends, because they do. That's how they interact with their friends and their social peers now, online, Zoom and WhatsApp. So you give them that opportunity, and then there's bedtime. But ensure that there is face-to-face time and they're off of their device. And I don't mean reading on your device or watching YouTube or watching movies. And don't use the device as the babysitter. I know it's very easy to just leave your children to game and to be on YouTube because you have to work from home. And the devices are very good babysitters beyond. You have to take into consideration that there's going to come a time when they're not going to be on their devices as much. And you're going to struggle to get that structure where they're not on their devices and they're not going to have an attitude or they're not going to withdraw because they're not able to be on their devices in the manner of which they want to. So set up that structure. No.
Did I hear you say don't read on the device?
No, I said during that period when they're doing face-to-face time, don't use the excuse as go and read on your device. They have Kindle. You can read on your devices. You can download books. I want you to do something completely free of your device. So it's not doing YouTube games. It's not gaming on your device. It's playing a board game. It's reading a book.
If I could jump in though, because the problem though is that a lot of the activities now are built around online. So for instance, one of my hobbies is reading. So I would take a break and I would go and pick up a book and read. Nowadays, if a kid is into reading, they're reading on their device. The games you're talking about, solitaire or whatever, they're playing the games on their device. So the very hobbies that you're saying they need to take a break and do, it's built around the device. So how do you take the break? What do you tell them to do?
What I'm saying to you is, in order to prevent that, you don't want to create a problem to solve a problem in it. And so parents need to be actively aware that they're going to put into that new parenting plan and structure for their children some period throughout the day, every day, that they're not on their devices, so that their children can recognize that there are other things that they can do. So get creative, think about it, get creative and see. We take the children out and they can play. The children just discovered how to play dodgeball. There are a lot of things that, or dandy shandy. There are a lot of things, and they love it. There are a lot of things that you can do in the yard and in your kitchen and even, at home that does not involve the device. So parents just have to get creative, remember what they used to do when they were children, and implement it in their structure.
All right, we're gonna take a break and we'll come back. Let me just remind you that our numbers are to send in your questions via WhatsApp 3810072 3810072. Our phone numbers are 876-733-2461, and those numbers go up to 6. Stay tuned, soon come.
One of the benefits, there's more one-on-one with my boys. Even though I work with them while they were going out to school, I get a better understanding of some of the weaknesses, some of the challenges that they face. And so from we have lockdown, I have been helping them to beat the books, to get into their heads to see some of the challenges, some of the weaknesses, helping them to surmount some of these challenges.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
With the stay-at-home orders set to expire in the coming days, what's next for parents?
We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances.
Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. as we discuss COVID-19 and parenting. Send your questions to 876-381-0072. We also want to know how you have been coping as a parent during the pandemic. That's a virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, onespotmedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. That's COVID-19 and parenting.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel.
Itself is hard, single parenting is harder, and single parenting whilst working remotely is a new level of hard. There have been several challenges ranging from financial to emotional to physical challenges. There were days where I felt like I was just being overwhelmed with work and with parenting and with chores and with bills and just about everything. I remember one day I just started screaming. I am not crazy, but I really started screaming because everything just felt like it was just becoming so much harder.
And thank you so much for staying with us as we continue another in our virtual town hall series, this time talking about COVID-19 and parenting. And I'm going to put with that comment that we just heard, this question from Jermaine. Where can parents go, or which entity can parents contact when they're feeling mentally overwhelmed by all the demands from their children, cutting pay, and all the other challenges during this COVID-19 pandemic? Because that's what we're hearing from both these parents. There's just so much going on, and sometimes you just don't know what to do. Let me ask you first. Okay.
So the National Parenting Support Commission is definitely the answer to that question. We were created to ensure that there's parental involvement in schools, but we also know that parents go through many things that prevent them from being as involved as we'd want them. And so we have established 36 helplines. The helplines have been published. We're really urging parents to call. It's not lost on me what that lady in the clip said, how frustrated she was, that she was screaming. We offer psychosocial first aid. Psychosocial meaning you deal with the mental, what you're thinking. We deal with the emotions, how you're feeling. And what we found sometimes when people call the helplines, they have a difficulty expressing exactly how they're feeling. We had one caller who groaned first before we had to help her to understand. She was just groaning. And then, of course, you have the spiritual. How is your connection with God? And you know, we look at all of that and how past issues might have been unresolved that are now exacerbated because of COVID-19 and all the pressures and distance learning and so on, and just the uncertainties of the time. So we are urging persons to call the National Parenting Support Commission helplines, because that's why we're here. We're here to help you to navigate this really difficult time.
What are the hours the helpline runs from?
We had said that we would run from 8 o'clock to 5 p.m., but the persons who are manning the helplines have been absolutely fantastic, and they're just answering the phones. They're answering at 1 o'clock. I was very, very humbled to have heard a story from one of the helpliners that a gentleman called in because he needed help to take his wife to the hospital. He needed an ambulance service. He couldn't, and she stayed on the line with him until 4 in the morning.
Wow.
Yes, and he was saying, this exists? Well, yes, we're saying it exists. We're an agency of the Ministry of Education. This is what we do. We're here to support you so that when it comes down to homeschooling or distance learning, as I prefer, some of those frustrations would have been lessened so that you're better able to deal with those expectations.
I actually did not know about your helplines.
Yes.
We can probably try to get the numbers during the break, but where can people go to get the numbers?
Well, they're all over social media. Even today, they're on the Ministry of Education website.
Okay.
Even today, JSIF, Jamaica Social Investment Fund, posted them. So we'll certainly give them the helpline numbers too. And what I like is that we launched 36 because we wanted the response to be very relevant to where you live, which parish you're from, so that the support can be more immediate. Would coordinate the support from the parish level so that you're being helped.
Okay. Dr. Charles, any comment you want to add to that? Parents feeling overwhelmed?
It is a very real feeling of parents just being overwhelmed and not sure what to do. I'm happy to hear that there are 36 helplines at NPSC. That's definitely something that will be needed. And also just to advise parents that if you check social media like Instagram or Facebook, there are a lot of groups. I just participated in one last night where I hosted called Parent Power, where parents could come in and voice their opinions. So just every now and then checking on your social media and see which groups are hosting sessions for parents, so that you can go on and just kind of like listen to other parents that have similar issues and problems and just voice your opinion, because talk therapy is very good. It's something that you can get that stress off of you, and you have the understanding of other parents that are going through basically something similar that can assist you.
Okay. Jenny asks, I have to work and I have to leave my daughter with my mother. How do I guarantee that I'm spending enough time with her? I don't know. That's kind of hard, but what do you say?
Well, sometimes it's not the length of time that you spend, but what you make of the time that you have. So it's very important that whether you're spending 10 minutes or an hour, the time counts, it matters, because it's not necessarily the duration of the time, it's what you do with the time that you have. Right now, what do children want? They want to make sure they feel loved. They want to feel safe. They need to feel protected. They want to know that irrespective of what's happening, in the home, there is this sense of protection that no matter what, mommy is here or daddy is here to help me through it. So make sure that you are carving out the time. See, we keep coming back to structure. Make sure you are carving out the time to spend with your child.
So sit down and plan
Sit
your
down.
day.
Absolutely. Plan your day.
This is what we're going to do in the evening and so on. Okay, so here's a question from General Light. And General Light is keeping it real. General Light says, may I have 5 picnic? God know me tired of them. How am I to deal with this here stress?
Yes. So call the helpline.
Call the
because
helpline.
yes, call the helpline. That's the first thing, because we need to figure out what the stresses are. We need to figure out how many layers they are. Sometimes we have persons call in and they have many layers to the issue. So call the helplines, and where we don't have the answers, they're escalated to the Ministry of Education in general or other support services who are our partners. So we know exactly how to coordinate all the responses so that you get the help you need.
Because we do have to realize we're around each other a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
So you used to get that break when they go to school and they come back and, you know, you can glad to see them. But no, it's like morning to night
Yes,
into morning.
yes,
No, there's no
yes.
rest, no
That's
break.
right.
And a lot of these kids are seriously high energy. Take a lot of high maintenance. Okay, so Sonia now is asking another important question, Dr. Charles. What services are available for parents grappling with children who have experienced feelings of depression as a result of the crisis? So not the mental health issue, not you know, but your child.
I want to answer 2 things. For that gentleman that with the 5 kids,
Yeah.
don't look at all 5 stresses at one time. Break the children down. So look at each child individually. If you look at everyone as a group, you're going to become overwhelmed. Moving forward to your child being depressed now, I want parents to understand that children display their depression a lot differently than adults. So where an adult might cry or withdraw or overeat or oversleep, a child might present their depression as bedwetting or, irritability, just a drastic change, mood changes. They may not want to eat, or they might, just like an adult, overeat. They may not want to get out of bed. They may withdraw from the family, not want to be around other siblings or be around their parents. They might just go quiet. And parents may think that an irritable child is a rude child, and they may frustrate that child even more, make them even more depressed by how they approach it. So the best thing that a parent can do when they have an irritable child and it's out of it's an abnormal reaction of that child based on that child's personality, the parent must stay calm, and the parent can just simply ask, what's wrong? How may I help you? How are you feeling? And so instead of leading with the negative, why are you being that way? Why are you doing this? Why are you behaving so bad? You're being bad, and negatively criticizing the child, use a more positive frame and approach the child in a more positive, calm way. If you scream at a baby, that baby is going to scream even more and become even more irritable. So if you project frustration at your children, they are going to project it back at you. So the best thing that you can do is remain calm and ask questions in a positive way.
But what do you as a parent look for? What are the red flags that say to you your child is in trouble? Because you made a very important point there. A lot of us, boy, the picnic rude, or him this or him that, or why him not talk or something, and a lot of things you just said are things that Jamaican parents beat picnic for. So what are the red flags that say to you, hold on, this is a child who is actually in trouble, I need to seek help, not beat him or beat her?
So
okay, like that extraordinary mood changes, you can look for some things like gastrointestinal problems. So a child that's vomiting, or a child that's having diarrhea, that's not due to something that they just ate. A child that just does not want to get out of bed, or a child that suddenly starts bedwetting. A child that's never in the mood to eat, so they've lost their appetite, or they're picking at their foods, they're sitting at the table, elbows at the jaw, and they just don't want to interact with the other family members. They always want to just go into their room. You ask them a question, and again, there are a lot of teenagers that when you ask, are you okay? Their response is, yeah. Leave the door open for your children. So when you ask and they don't respond right away, let them know, reassure them, listen, I'm here for you. If you ever want to talk, come and talk to me. And also, you have to be very open and honest with your children. So when you're speaking about the situation, because right now I was speaking to a group of 20 children between the ages of 6 and 12 last week, and a lot of them were sad. Why were they sad? Because they couldn't hug their friends. They couldn't reach out and touch their friends. And so it's important that parents speak to their children in a very open and honest and yes, excuse me when I say this, positive way about everything that's happening right now around COVID-19, so that they're not scared into an anxiety or post-traumatic stress symptom.
Yeah, I know you want to come in, but just before you come in, let me just bring up a question that relates to something Dr. Charles just said from Fiona. Fiona is asking, how could the missing the social aspect of school affect children in the long run? All my son says every day is how much he misses his friends. Mm-hmm. So,
yes, and that's a reality. We're created social beings. This is an abnormal time. And so, we could have long-term effects in terms of depression even, because I know that last week we also spoke to parents who said they were feeling depressed because they're just not feeling connected to their friends. And if, like we said, the same feelings that parents are experiencing, you have to also know that your children would be experiencing those as well. And anxiety too. They just feel so anxious because they want to get back to some kind of normalcy. They're not quite understanding, depending on who the child is, why it is that they have to be away from their friends for so long. And so they might have anxiety or the other side of that, depression. It could also lead further to antisocial tendencies, because you become so socially awkward that you forget even how to relate when things resume, depending on how you are, because you've been so distant for so long. Persons were saying that some of these new ways of greeting, they're going to stay with us. We were such a country of people that like to hug, and we were very touchy-feely. But some of these, and I shudder to think that we're going to be resigned to not touching again. So it might just be that we become so antisocial and so socially awkward that we don't even know how to relate to each other when we do have to get back in terms of touching and so on.
So in the meantime,
hugging.
How do we help our kids through that though, missing their friends?
Well, it comes back to trying keeping those connections via short telephone calls, still have to keep them WhatsApp groups, just try to keep them sociable, find ways, make the calls and have them express what they're feeling.
Yeah, difficult one.
Yeah, very difficult.
Because especially with children of a certain age, they really thrive on the personal interaction. It's so much harder to talk to them over the phone.
So as the question was asked, that's the image that was conjured. Because the smaller children have a difficulty. They have no prejudices. They're used to, I don't know if you've ever seen children at play, they even wipe the snot from each other's faces. One cries, the other start crying. They're used to that naturally. So it is a difficult time for many of them. They really are not understanding why they can't be with their friends.
We have a question from Delia. What are the Ministry of Health guidelines for daycare facilities now that work from home is over? Some of these questions, Delia, we've been asking ourselves of the government. What we can do for you is play a clip from the Prime Minister. He was asked about daycare facilities at the press briefing earlier this week.
The orders still remain as it relates to schools, and that would also incorporate daycares. We will have to have a special consideration, and I believe that those issues would be considered or being considered now under the protocols for the return to work. And one of the reasons why we give notice, and we didn't just on the 31st of May say we're not renewing, is to give the public the chance to raise these issues, and we are contemplating them. So I would say that the next time I'm at this podium giving my press conference, that I will have something definitive to say about how we will treat with daycare facilities.
Okay, so that one is a wait and see as we continue to follow up those and other issues. And as soon as we have that information, of course, we will be sharing with you. What is there an age though to how you interact with these kids? So Andrea asked, for instance, my son is 15 years old. How often should I be checking in on him to see if he's doing his schoolwork or if he's texting as he gets distracted? So I mean, you do interact differently with children of different ages, but at a 15-year-old, do you just hands off, leave them alone, and you do your thing and they do their thing, or not?
But it depends on who the 15-year-old is. There's some 15-year-olds you wouldn't have to check except to say, are you okay? Are you getting through? Because that child would, if the child has a problem, be coming anyhow. There's some that you'd have to be on them to ensure that they're doing the work. So it depends who the 15-year-old is. I'd say generally speaking though, you want to check every day, and depending on what the timetable is, you'd also have to look to see where the difficulties or frustrations were for that child, depending on what subject matter. So if you know the child had a challenge with science, for example, perhaps you'd want to check in a little more often to say, how are you getting through? Are you understanding? But if the child is proficient in one area, then you'd probably allow him or her to continue. So it depends on who your child is. And that is why it's important for parents to attend. You must really know who your children are. Try to be abreast and follow up and ask questions. It's important to get information as they, are navigating.
Right, here's a question. I know a lot of parents are wondering this. Joshi says, my child is supposed to start kindergarten in September, but I'm scared to send my only child out. Would it be safer to homeschool?
There is a sophisticated homeschool network in Jamaica.
Really?
Yes. I think they fall under the Independent Schools Association.
Okay.
I have met several children who came out of homeschooling. Interestingly, students who come out of that, who certainly I have met, so let me not generalize, they've been very disciplined because they're used to structure. For homeschooling to be successful, you have to be very, very structured. So that is certainly an option that parent could explore. There is a homeschool association.
But they have to realize it's only for work, right?
It is a lot of work.
For the parents.
It is a lot of work, but there are persons who are trained, and children have been very successful through the homeschooling process,
Right.
yes.
We're going to go to break. When we come back now, we start to focus a little bit more on the back to work side of things and how all of that is going to be balanced. So stay with us, we'll soon come.
I have 9 kids. I have 7 sons, 2 girls.
Okay.
And with the children, as a single parent, it's very hard for me to cope with them. Even though that we are going back to work, I don't know how I'm gonna manage during this time for them even to go back to school. Is it okay for them to go back to school of not catching anything?
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
With the stay-at-home orders set to expire in the coming days, what's next for parents?
We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances.
Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. as we discuss COVID-19 and parenting. Send your questions to 876-381-0072. We also want to know how you have been coping as a parent during the pandemic. That's a virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, onespotmedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM and TVJ's YouTube channel. That's COVID-19 and Parenting.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by
virtual school being out, persons who are ill, if they can be facilitated with these measures, let us use them. We have had this law for the last 6 years. It hasn't been fully utilized. Let us utilize it now.
Thank you so much for staying with us as our TVJ Town Hall on COVID and Parenting continues. So we're into the back to work part of the discussion because June 1, most people will be heading back to work, and a lot of the questions we have from parents dealt with just that. So let me start out with Simone, who says, now that work from home orders are being lifted, what of parents who have children at home and no caregiver? What protections do they have so as not to lose their jobs? How long could a situation like that last before benefits start to be eroded? And I think we have Camille Bennett Campbell online, Director of Legal Services in the Ministry of Labour. Sounds like a question for you, Mrs. Bennett Campbell.
Yes, good night. Yes, I would like to say though, I wouldn't say that remote work is finished. Remote work as mandated by the orders may be finished. But remember that flexible work arrangements, remote work, telecommuting is a form of flexible work arrangements. What it would need though is for the employers and the workers now and their trade unions to sit down and look at the business and see what type of flexible work arrangements can actually work in the situation. So remote work is one type. You also have staggered hours, for example, that can help you to balance so that persons could start at different times. You also have the compressed work week, where persons could be working for 3.5 days, 4 days by negotiation. So what this opens the door for now is negotiation between employers and workers and their representatives as to can flexible work arrangements be the solution at this time.
All right. O'Neill Grant, let me ask you to comment on that as well from public sector workers' perspective.
We totally agree. The challenge is that our systems are not designed to facilitate that type of working, and therein lies the problem. There is a willingness to do it. We have seen that willingness, but we do still have structures that does not facilitate remote working, flexible work arrangements, compressed work week. If you look at the legislation that governs the flexible work arrangements, it is highly voluntary. And if we have that high level of volunteerism, workers and their employers are going to have to go through a lot of negotiation before they can settle on the appropriate mechanisms that they can use to actually use flexible work arrangements properly. Persons who are working in a compressed work week might have a challenge with other persons whose work times clash with theirs. The employer might not have the resources, security and otherwise, to deal with workers who are working 12 hours per day versus those working 8 hours per day. So those are some of the challenges that we are anticipating. In the public sector, we do not have the rules that governs flexible work arrangements. We have passed from 2000 a part of the staff orders and says that we should have flexible work arrangements, but they only extend to coming in 1 hour earlier or leaving 1 hour later. It doesn't deal with other things outside of that, and that is something that particularly when we started having the road construction around the city, we brought up to the cabinet secretary and the team how it is that we can now deal with workers who are traveling all the way from Old Harbour to come into Kingston, leaving home at 4 o'clock to arrive at 6 and spend 3 hours sleeping in their cars because the office was not open to allow them to work. It's a productivity issue. It's a work and safety issue. There are several other things that are impacting how it is that we can deal with flexible work arrangements.
Well,
COVID-19.
hold on for me, because just before I bring in Rochelle Cameron, let me just ask you, stay with you, O'Neill Grant, and ask you a related question from Exempt Workplace, Twitter name, who is asking what arrangements will government make so that public sector bosses can no longer arbitrarily decide on flexi work arrangements, therefore denying parents who have legitimate challenges the opportunity to work from home and supervise their children.
And that's it. It is totally voluntary. There has to be agreement. There has to be negotiation, and no one can impose on an employee that they must work 12 hours for the day, or they must work only 3.5 days for this week. It is not how that's not how it works. And I will advise that individual that's under that duress that we are here as unions to speak to their employer on their behalf so that they are not in the line of fire to be negotiating in that contentious atmosphere. We do say, though, and we remind the employers, the supervisors and managers in the public sector, that they should examine the law to see what the rights and obligations are before they start to take these very polarized positions as it relates to their workers.
All right, we have a video question. Let's go to that now.
For parents who are fearful of going back to work with the virus still present, is there a law to protect them if they ask to continue working from home? Is there a law to protect them from losing their job?
I'm trying to figure out who to throw that one to. Rochelle Cameron, you want to take that one?
Sure, Diane. Thank you for having me on the program. What an interesting discussion. There is so much anxiety with June 1. The first thing, as Camille had indicated, the expiration of the orders does not mean that still have the flexible work arrangements. Now, as regards the video
I'm
question,
so sorry, we lost a bit of what you were saying. Could you repeat that for me?
yeah, I am in agreement with Camille that the expiration of the work orders does not mean that work from home has ended. We still have the flexible work arrangements legislation. As regards the question that the viewer just asked, which is a great question, there is really no legislation that protects the employee. But this is a time of not just negotiation, as O'Neill mentioned, but it is really a time of collaboration, and it's going to require a different level of leadership. We've seen over the last several months that we have changed dramatically. We're homeschooling children. We are learning to work from home. So we have to be looking at how will we be innovative in how we will operate from the workplace. Camille mentioned a lot of options under the flexible work arrangements. And unlike many other countries, we actually have that legislation, which is 6 years old, and we have not been using the legislation. So there's staggered work hours, flexible work week, etc. So what it is going to require is, one, a consideration from leadership with the discussion with employees, because you know the persons who can continue working from home, that their jobs do not require them coming into the office. The flip side of that too is that we still have physical distance rules and wearing of masks and coming into the workplace, and everybody pretty much bundled back into the workplace is also exposing us. So from the PSOJ point of view, we've been working with civil society and very closely with government, looking at the protocols and the guidelines that are necessary for persons going back into the workplace. So when you look at how the workplace is going to be structured with cubicles, lunchroom time, etc., it is really an opportune time for businesses to look how they can structure the workday in such a way to bring out productivity, but also to use the flexible work arrangements. So the lady that just asked the question, it really is again a time of collaboration. One of the things we've been looking at is that the leadership that we were exhibiting in January is a different level of leadership that is going to be required now, because we really have to be looking at what the requirements of the business are. When you're even looking at the AC in an office, we live in a very hot country, and you know that we like our AC and we like to go into a cool building. But we're also looking at that air that is circulating. We are also at risk with that air that is circulating. So there's so many considerations. It's not just about persons going back into work, but we're also looking at the safety of our workers, the safety of the customers, the various patrons coming into our business. And the good thing for us is that though the legislation does not compel, the legislation does provide the requisite framework that we are able to put in the arrangements, and it is time that we utilize it.
I have as well a related business question. So let me just stay with you. An anonymous viewer is asking if the adjusted hours and the whole work from home situation, though, has shown to be productive and it's seeming to work, why can't it be continued for those who opt to do so?
That is a business decision. It really is a business decision. I have been speaking to a lot of small businesses, and in fact, a lot of them have recognized that there has been major cost containment with persons working from home, and it has been working for many businesses. So in fact, a lot of them are looking to see how they can continue and what additional mechanisms they need to put into place to strengthen the policies that they have for work from home. So it is at the end of the day a business decision, but it's a business decision that when you look at it, there is cost containment, there is the safety of your workers with persons working from home. So there is a certain wisdom when you look to see, well, we have been continuing the business, we've been able to deliver on our numbers as best as we can, and we have our staff working from home. What you find is that the good leaders too are putting in programs where there's check-in with the team. They're still doing their performance appraisal. So it's a different way of working. So if you were to look at it that where you work with, say, a multinational company and you are located in Jamaica and your boss is located in Switzerland, and you even have a time difference with that, but still, with the various policies and operating mechanisms in place, you're still able to do the relevant check-ins. So what we have to do is open our minds to, we're used to, because what we're used to is that we go to school and then we come out of school and we get a job and we go to work. And going to work for us means getting into a vehicle and heading somewhere to work. This is a new way of us operating for work. We've tried it. We didn't know that we could do it. Certainly at the beginning of March, we didn't think that we could reach this far. We've certainly reached this far, and it is just a matter of tightening the belts and putting in the proper mechanisms. But if it is working, we strongly urge from the PSOJ, continue, and just put in the relevant mechanisms that are necessary to make it even more robust.
Is that at all a possibility in the public service, O'Neill Grant? What are you picking up from public sector bosses?
It is possible. It is possible, but one of the things that I've done the public sector for many times is the mentality of this is how we always do it, and people are not willing to break out of the mold of what they always do. I had a conversation with Christopher Zaka sometime last year when he spoke to me about someone in Australia working for Sagicor, and they have turned around their businesses in terms of the time that used to be processing significantly with that person being so far away. If our public sector bosses realize that they can use the technology that we have available to boost productivity rather than hammering on the fact that persons must turn up to work at 9 o'clock in the morning and leave at 5, then we will get over this thing about persons being present rather than being productive. And
sorry, is it though that the past 3 months haven't helped with that at all?
No, because people are still talking about people not being at work. Even though persons are being given work to do and are being productive, people are still talking about people not being at work.
Oh, well.
It is something that we have had a conversation about in our leadership team, that we have to do some serious representation on, because times have changed and presenteeism is now something that we are pushing now. We want persons to be at work, we want persons to be productive, but work is now defined as anywhere that work can be done. The place of work is now being redefined. And if the place of work is home, or in the field, or in the office, then the rules that applies to the workplace must be applied there as well. And we just have to use our ingenuity, our intellect, our innovation to ensure that we can remain as productive as we have always wanted to be, working in different places right now.
All right. Let me ask you, Mrs. Bennett Campbell, to comment on that issue as well, public sector and work from home, because I have to tell you, I'm getting complaints from public sector workers saying how they're hearing one thing at the level of the Prime Minister about work from home, but that public sector bosses are saying something completely different. And how is that possible?
Yes. So I must say that during the road works, or the traffic congestion, the Ministry of Labour actually had started the staggered working hours, which worked really well in terms of controlling the traffic, in terms of people being more productive, because you're now working at the time, persons chose the time that would best suit their productivity. So some people were morning people and some people were not. So we did have it. When it comes to remote work though, you have to just change the culture. It's not that just because I've not seen you, you're not working, because that is a part of the culture that we have to have this shift. And I must say, the ministry and the labor, in terms of the Labor Advisory Council, they had a high-level meeting this morning where we started to think about what is the way forward. COVID has given us a new opportunity to look at our laws, to look at the ways to go forward. So that is made up of trade unions, employers, and the government trying to work together to see how we actually navigate what is happening now and what can we put in place. So I'm hoping too that that will also help to lead how we respond in this situation.
All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about back to work and how parents are going to be navigating that landscape in the COVID era. Stay tuned.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
With the stay-at-home orders set to expire in the coming days, what's next for parents?
We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances.
Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. as we discuss COVID-19 and parenting. Send your questions to 876-381-0072. We also want to know how you have been coping as a parent during the pandemic. That's a virtual town hall this Thursday, May 28 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, onespotmedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. That's COVID-19 and parenting.
We thank you so much for staying with us as we continue our virtual town hall looking at COVID-19 on parenting. So let me start off with this question from an anonymous listener saying, let me put this one to you, Kesia Carr. How do parents organize? You've spoken a lot about structure. How do parents organize the school and work day now that the two are rolled into one very long day?
Yes, I know. And that's it. It shouldn't be a very long day. One of the concerns we have is that because we've been working from home, the hours have been so extended. So it comes right back to what we've been talking about with in terms of structure. You have to make sure there is a cutoff time. School would have normally ended at about 2:30, so we don't expect children to be engaging in schoolwork at 2:30. And we do expect that in the new normal, that you are also very flexible, so you're responding to the needs. So if a child feels tired, even if the structure had said that he should be attending to a particular subject, that you're going to stop and you're going to attend to the needs of that child, because that's also important. So even within the structure, there has to be still some amount of flexibility, so you're responding to the need, because what I want to continue to stress is that we're going through COVID and it's a stressful period. At the end of the day, what we want are for children to know that you're there for them. So you have to make sure while you're at home, you're not working extended hours either. Make sure you're managing your time well, so that if your time to end work was 5 o'clock, you try to end at 5 o'clock, so you're attending to the needs of your children.
All right, there's so many questions I have left. I'm trying to squeeze into these last few minutes, but here's a really important one that a lot of parents are dealing with. Jackie says, I have no one to leave my 11-year-old with when I go back to work. He's independent enough to be left alone at home. I know it's a safety issue, but I'm almost left with no choice.
You know, I would want to advise Jackie to speak to your employer, because nobody should be this harsh or this callous at this time. It is going to take flexibility on everybody's part. We want you to take each situation on its own merit. Here is a real situation. We don't want, in order for us to treat with one issue, we're creating another one that we'll all live to regret. The safety of our children is paramount. So have a conversation with your employer and see if you can come up with some workable solution.
Rochelle Cameron, you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, I actually like the direction Acacia was going a while ago. There is a certain level of compassion that is going to be necessary from employers. One of the things that we really have to consider during this time, COVID, unprecedented. We have never experienced anything like this, but it is the great equalizer, because everybody is experiencing something, all of us at different degrees. And in the workplace, we do recognize, whether or not you have children or not, that everybody is going through the various anxieties. So it is really a time for collaboration, as I mentioned, but it will require some compassion. And the question, that is a question too of, are you able to work from home? Now, if the answer to that question is no, this job does not really facilitate working from home, it doesn't mean that all is lost, because now we need to look at what really is your job. What do you do in the days? What days is it? High traffic days? Are you in a customer service kind of face-to-face role? You do know the days that the customers come in, and those days are heavy days, and you may look for a compressed work week at that time, or a flexi work day. So it really is going to require conversations between employees and their employers, and it is going to require some give and take. And as workers too, we're going to have to really step up our game. As employers, we have to be more innovative in how we operate. It forces us to ask the question, when do I really need people? What are the heavy days that I need people? What are the essential days that we operate? And what we're going to find in this time is that we are changing. And the way that we used to say, as Jamaican, we say, I saw we stay, I saw we do things. Those days are gone. We are now discovering how to do things and new ways of doing the same thing, but doing it even more efficiently. So it is that time for collaboration, and it is a lot of time for compassion, and we're going to have the conversation, so the communication has to be clear. So you don't bother hide and not talk to your employer. You need to go in and have the conversation. And given the notice period that the Prime Minister has given, I would have expected too that a lot of businesses should have been having the conversation with their workers as to how we're going to operate. If you haven't done that, then come next week, you should be engaging in those conversations, and your employees know even better than you the various ways too that we can improve efficiency. With some days some persons are at home, some days some persons are in. So really, if ever there was a time for engagement of management and staff, it is now.
And as we're talking about moving forward, Sabrina is also asking, is it time for companies to see that this pandemic has put on the table a better way of work for individuals and companies to move forward and just embrace that? Are we ready for that as a nation? Mrs. Bennett Campbell, let me put that to you and ask you whether put that within the kind of remit of the Ministry of Labour and the legislative framework we have. Is there space for that?
Yes. This pandemic, it is unfortunate, but it gives us an opportunity to examine how we work, how our legislation can be impacted in terms of what amendments can be made in light of this pandemic, so that a future generation will benefit from what we have learned here and it's not all in vain. So I really believe this pandemic is an opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to put into practice the flexible work arrangements legislation, which has been paving the way for some time, because this is the future. And we can learn from it. We need strong supervision and management that is important to flexible work arrangements. But we believe that there are lessons to be learned here from all, and I believe that the task force that is being set up by the Labour Advisory Council will play an important role in leading us forward.
Okay. What about, let me ask you, Casey, in terms of way forward, you're seeing a new paradigm here as well?
Absolutely. But I would like to concur with what the last person just said, that it also gives us an opportunity to create something that's workable for everybody. Here is a wonderful time, as I'm speaking directly to parents now, for you to make sure that the time with your children count. I think we've never had an opportunity where parents have so much time with their children. You know, storytelling was a part of our culture. It probably has died. How about sharing some of your own experiences and some of your own triumphs? How about talking to your children about the things that truly matter? You know, interestingly, just before COVID, we saw so many videos of our schools and our children acting out. And there was much concern about what was happening. Here's an opportunity for you to really redirect, to sit with your child and redirect some of those behaviors and get back to real good, wholesome values and attitudes.
But I have to leave it there. Can I thank all our guests so much for talking to us? I can't tell you how many questions I did not get to. So my apologies to those viewers whose questions I didn't get to. We'll have to keep the conversation going and try to get more answers for you. Thank you so much for watching another in our series, our RJRGleaner Group virtual town halls. We've been talking about COVID-19 and parenting. On behalf of the news and production teams, I'm Dion Jacksmiller. Enjoy the rest of the evening and stay safe.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
With the stay-at-home orders set to expire in the coming days, what's next for parents?
We're not saying that everyone should return to work regardless of their circumstances.